Hello everyone, are you ready for another adventure? It's me, Woki, and I'm back with another Fake Grand Order video. And what are we talking about today? Well, yesterday they brought up that the 23 million downloads campaign is starting. So for that one guy who said, hey, when is this banner going to be coming up? And I said, it's related to the 23 million downloads campaign, so sometime next week. We know it's coming pretty soon. The 28th, which should be tomorrow, or depending on when you listen to this video, sometime already happening, or you already missed it, who knows. So let's get right into it, shall we? So, the 23 million downloads campaign, it starts on May 28th, 2025 at the day roll time. For some people, it might end up being the 29th, just because of the way that time zones work and stuff. But for me, it's always it's going to be the 28th, so that's what is most important here. As far as login bonuses go, they have the basic one where you log in for over 10 days consecutive. On the first day, you get 10 silver apples and 3 teapots. Second day, it's 10 golden apples, 100 mana prisms. The third day, it's 10 million QP. On the fourth day, it's 10 million, 10 5 EXP and 3 teapots. On the fifth day, it's 10 silver foe for HP and attack. On the sixth day, it's 10 5 EXP again. Yeah. Whoa. Someone let off a firework real quick. Okay, sure. And 100 mana prisms. And then on the day, 7th day, it is 1 golden foe for HP and attack. On the 8th day, it's a rare mana prisms and 3 gold teapots. On the 9th day, it's a single lore. And on the 10th day, it is 30 Saint Quartz. So make sure to log in. It's the easiest 30 Saint Quartz that you can get. Is just literally consecutively log in for 30 days. Just don't forget. It's very easy. Time limited campaigns that will be going on during this period is 2 times Great and Super Suck chance. The chances of getting Great and Super Suck on Servant and Craft Essence enhancements are doubled. So if you're looking to get a unit ready for Grand in 2 years, take advantage of that now while you can. 1/2 AP campaigns, 1/2 AP for all Ember Gathering and Treasure Vault daily quests. These daily quests will now give 20% bond points for all servants. And also, Summer Ruler will be, Summer Saber Ruler will also be available as a support NPC for these daily quests, and 1/2 AP for all interludes and rank up quests. And those are the campaigns for now. Alright. Now, in terms of limited time master missions, there will be a couple. One dedicated fully about getting a whole bunch of bond points during the campaign. Starting from 10,000 to get your first single Saint Quartz, and then it's 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, and that's all 1 Saint Quartz when you finish those quests. And then at 50,000, you get 1 Chaldean Visionary Flames, and then at 60, 70, 80, 90, it's again 1 Saint Quartz, and if you get 100,000, it's 2 Saint Quartz. Pretty simple stuff. And then complete all daily missions will give you some teapots, which you can then use to get more bond points. It all makes sense and it all works out perfectly, huh? In terms of the Da Vinci Workshop, there'll be some limited time stuff added to exchange. For the rare mana prisms, not rare mana prisms, for regular mana prisms, it's the basic stuff. It's code openers for Quick, Arts, and Buster, along with 5 summon tickets, 10 stacks of 5 EXP, 10 stacks of 4 EXP, 20 silver foe of HP and attack, all of those for the regular mana prisms. If you want to use your rare mana prisms, you got the foe's footprint, or the beast footprint, whichever way you want to call it. Code removers, golden foes for HP and attack, and 20k friend points that you can exchange 5 times. And then in terms of rare prism shop updates, they'll also be adding Beyond the Rain Clouds. I remember now that this is a actual CE that already released. I know this because I thought it hadn't released, and then I went to go check and I saw that I already had it fully maxed out. If you miss out on your chance, though, you can exchange it for 1 rare mana prisms to get the chance to buy more copies for 1,000 regular mana prisms. And then from there, if you want to get a max limit break, you can get 5% on Mystic Code, EXP, and 25 friend points. So, really nice art on it for the most part, so that's good. And then finally, that's basically it until we get to the summoning campaign. There'll be 3 banners. I'll only be talking about one of them, and I'll save the other ones for a later video, probably putting both of them together and just fully talking about them there. But for today, I'm just going to be covering the one that will be there at launch, which will be the the Artoria ruler Summer, or Summer Saber ruler as I call her, because I can never find the best way of saying. I don't know why it feels so weird to call Saber Artoria for me. I'm not even one of those like, oh no, say the other word. No, it's not really like that. I just like calling her Saber. She only is Saber to me. But anyway, her giant form as the Lion King will be here in Ruler if you want to go for her. And she'll also share the banner with Okita J. Soji. And she'll also have a rate-up banner that features poolside bar, ladies and gentlemen, and the Yantan Tethera, which are all Cs of men. None of their effects are too amazing from what I can remember. You just get them because they have nice art of your bands on them if you want them for that reason, or they're just a nice bonus. And then on the next day after this releases, that's the one that will feature Saber Alter Rider Summer Form, Mysterious Heroine XX, and then the day after that is going to be the original Summer Saber, which is the Archer version, along with Summer Mo, and again, more Mansi, and the same is true for the other banner. So, let's get into talking about these units. But before I do that, I should say a preface. I always say this for every single summer unit and every summer banner. There is no real... You don't need to justify yourself summoning for a summer unit. In FGO, summer units are units you want because you want to get them. And then usually what they do afterwards is like secondary. So if you're someone who's coming here and you already have made the decision, like, hey, I'm here to summon for my girls, and I don't care about how good or bad they are, then there's nothing I can say that will convince you. I already support you, but I wish you the best of luck. This is only specific advice for people who are unsure about the unit and they're like, I kind of like Okita, but how good is she as a unit? Then I can help you out a little bit about that. If you super care about the unit, obviously, it doesn't matter what I have to say. You already made the decision to summon. Just to let you know. And that's the way I feel like you should treat all summer units for the most part. Kind of what they do is secondary. What you want them because they are what they are. Which is why I have a bunch of summer units that are not the greatest. But I sure do try and use them when the time comes. And speaking of summer units that are maybe not the greatest, let's talk about Okita J. Soji before we get into the queen of maybe not the greatest of all summer units, which is the Summer Ruler. But let's start. Okita is an assassin. She has 3 quicks, 1 art, 1 buster, 5 hits on quick, 3 hits on arts, 1 hit on buster, 5 hits on extra. Her active skills are the Gen, Tennen, Rishin, Ryu, A+, increases on crit damage for 1 turn, increases on critical star absorption for 1 turn, removes one of the latest debuffs, this is the demerit, one of your latest defensive buffs, so you get 100% crit damage, the absorption is 800%, and the cooldown is 4. The best way to avoid this one is to just try not to, I guess, use the defensive. Use this one first, but let's continue on, shall we? Eye of the Mind J, A-. There'll be time to talk about her skills later. Grant self-evasion for 1 turn, ignore evasion for 1 turn, increases own MP damage for 3 turns, 20% MP damage on a cooldown of 6. Her third skill is currently the M Drive VX, but it will eventually get buffed into the Makoto Drive, which should be, I think, this year, I believe, during Anniversary. M Drive VX is increases on quick performance for 3 turns, and then a 500% chance to reduce own defense by 20% every turn for 3 turns, starting with 10% on turn 1. This is treated as a buff, and this is a max 50%, and this is a very obvious demerit. But you gain 50% quick, and the cooldown is 6, and if you want to see the stronger version of it, it gives you a charge to your MP gauge along with MP generation rate for 3 turns, which is very nice. The 30% to NP and 30% to NP rate is very nice. Her passive skills, this is something different. Usually I only read the last one that is unique, but all of her passive skills are technically unique. So, Present Concealment J, B-, increases on critical star generation rate by 7.5%, 500% chance to reduce own instant kill resistance by 10%, that's a demerit. Magic Resistance J, C, increases on debuff resistance by 15%, but has a 500% chance to reduce own instant kill resistance by 10%, also a demerit. And then Existence outside of the domain E, which is just gain 2 crit stars every turn and increased debuff resistance by 2%. Her third append skill is an anti-archer attack damage aptitude. Her Noble Phantasm is the Jet Sennensuki Jet 3-stage thrust. It's rank C anti-army quick Noble Phantasm that hits 3 times. It's an AoEer. It removes their defensive buffs, and then a 60% chance to stun yourself for 1 turn. That's also a demerit. At MP level 1, it's 600%, and MP level 5, it's 1000. Reduce their defense for 3 turns, 100%. At charge level 1, it's 30%. If you get it all the way to the final charge level, that's a whopping 50%. And that is Okita J. Soji. So how is she? I don't think, I mean, based off of the many demerits she has, you can kind of see that she's maybe not the greatest unit in the world. This buff that's coming up pretty soon for us will help her loop a little bit. But she probably still needs more than that. So it's funny because their starting death rate is 49.5%, and then you add in the additional 20% that you get from her skills. Just means that you never want to ever bring her in any fight that has a gimmick of death rate. She just is built to die. Why is she built like this? Well, if you remember the story, Summer Okita during this time when she got added in with a bunch of the Servantverse stuff and she got like brought back to life basically, it kind of makes sense why she has so many demerits. I think the problem is that they maybe went a little bit too hard. I'm all for units having specific demerits on them, but you have to build them kind of to last if you want to keep them around. And unfortunately, they may have just given Okita just one too many. Like, some of these, like, are workarounds. This first skill, it's very unfortunate, but you could, in theory, work around this, so you can increase your crit damage for 1 turn. 100%, it makes sense. You'll just remove a defensive buff, so you'd make sure if you were to use it with this skill, you'd use the first skill first and then the second skill. But unfortunately, this first skill also increases your MP damage for... increases your MP damage for 3 turns, so if you're looping, you're going to end up using this and wasting the self-evasion and the ignore evasion as well, even though both of them only last a single turn, so maybe it's not that much of a waste. This ability that makes her continuously take more damage as the time goes on, up to 50% on the 3rd turn, is really bad. It's very bad. It's extremely bad. The 50% quick is nice, and thankfully when this gets buffed, this NP rate and NP charger should help her loop a little bit more. I think she probably struggles like most assassins would with low hit count. She also has low hit counts on her Noble Phantasm, and she's quick, so usually those suffer from NP gain stuff. So combine all those factors, and then her NP also has a 60% chance to stun herself for 1 turn. Thankfully, if all you're doing is looping, when this triggers, you'll get stunned, but all it means is that you don't do follow-up. So as long as you're doing a fight that doesn't have a follow-up, this doesn't matter. But if you're doing any fight that requires you to do more attacks, or let's say you want to do quick, and use your first skill, this Noble Phantasm just has a first chance of you completely whiffing, not being able to follow up with your 2 extra cards, and completely wasting the 1 turn of crit damage you have. Listen, if you're a fan of Okita, you try and make it work. I know an Okita fan. He does his best. He's very thankful for the buff, but I really do think that she needs some more buffs. That's as far as her unit goes. If you have a differing opinion, feel free to tell me. Maybe you found some secret sauce that I'm not aware of that I would love to hear, so next time I talk about her, I know a little bit more. But just from the base kit of looking at it, and from my experience actually using mine a little bit, it's always been a case of just like, oh man, I really do wish they had just buffed you a little bit more. On the bright side, if all you care about is the looks, 3 great costumes here. Really nice, really good stuff. But if you're looking for a playable Summer Okita, it's probably better to go for the other one, the Majin Okita. Go for that one over this one if you're looking for a playable unit. This one has so many demerits that you have to really love her to get the most out of her. Still, very good, very good swimsuits. Let's talk about Artoria Pendragon Ruler. I should also mention these are both limited servants. They're both limited. All summer units are limited, so they're also kind of a pain in the ass, which is why so many people want to try and get them when they can. Summer units in general are really hard, especially the 4 ones, because typically they're only on banners that feature summer units, and very rarely they kind of get put on other units that are not related to summer. Usually it's with other units that are like, oh, they have a new 5-star version, let's include the 4-star one or something like that. Or in the case of Santa Martha's here, let's put in the Summer Martha into the Christmas banner just real quick. or for some of the summer units got added into the Van Gogh event just specifically because it took place water and they were used in the story and stuff like that. But you get what I'm saying. Usually very hard to get, which is why it's understandable why some people go for them and go like, "No, I don't have very much chances. Let me take this." Anyway, let's talk about the Summer Lion King. She is a ruler. She has 2 quicks, 1 arts, 2 buster, 4 hits on quick, 4 hits on arts, 3 hits on buster, and 5 hits on extra. Her first skill is the Royal Bunny A. Charges own MP gauge, grants self evasion for 1 turn, grants self the Royal Bunny jump, delayed buff for one time. Royal Bunny jump increases own attack for 1 turn after 1 turn. 40% to NP, 30% to attack, and a cooldown of 6. Her second skill is the Royal Card C+, which is this is after the strengthening, which we currently have, so I'll talk about it. The selected allies' command cards will not appear for 1 time, 1 turn. Cannot activate if only 1 party servant is left on the field. Randomly deal 5 new command cards. This will reset the deck so it becomes the first turn of a new command card cycle. Increases party critical damage for 3 turns. Increases party's MP generation rate for 1 turn. 50% the crit damage, and the MP rate is 30%, and the cooldown is 5. If you want to know what the previous version of it, it was literally just deal 5 new command cards and increase crit damage for 3 turns. So the one big change that they have here is actually that you can now not activate it if she's the only one on the field, meaning you'll miss out on that 50% crit damage, which kind of sucks, but you know, it is what it is. And her third skill, which has not been strengthened yet, it's going to be this version, the Knight of the Lion B. Increase on attack for 3 turns, increases on critical star absorption for 1 turn, 40% to attack, 500% absorption on a cooldown of 6, and when this gets buffed, it turns into, you get a, the increase to party's attack now lasts, gets a little bit stronger, apparently? No, it's for everyone. It increases party's attack for 3 turns, increases on buster performance for 3 turns, increases on crit star absorption for 1 turn, 40% to attack, 30% to buster, and the absorption is still 500% on the cooldown of 6. Her passive skills are Magic Resistance A and Territory Creation B. Her pen skill for the third one is an anti-saber attack damage aptitude, because trust no one, not even yourself. And her Noble Phantasm is the Bright Ingawin? I don't know how you pronounce that. Shine Brilliantly Radiant Hall of Mine. A rank A plus anti-fortress buster Noble Phantasm that hits 4 times. Deals damage that ignores offensive buffs to all enemies. Charges on MP gauge by 20%. At MP level 1, the damage is 300%, and if you get her all the way to MP level 5, it's 500%. And her overcharge effect is an increase to quick, arts, and buster performance. This will all activate first before you do damage on the Noble Phantasm. At charge level 1, it's 20%, and if you get her all the way to the final charge level, it's 40% for all 3 of them. And that is Summer Ruler over here. Summer Saber Ruler. So how is she as a unit? I think on the current version of the game, which is our version, which is going to be a while until we get this third skill, it's the most thing that she has is this gimmick, and then that's basically it. This gimmick is really nice. This is the one that lets me... I've done a bunch of videos in the past using her, and a lot of her skill comes from this specifically, is the ability to like do a bunch of cool stuff with the command cards. Because the way that the skill works is that it deals 5 new command cards while also shuffling the deck. It resets the deck. So if you were to use this on turn 2, you'd be able to, let's say if you used a unit on turn 1, used all their cards, and then you use this, you'd be able to shuffle the deck while also putting back those cards that you used previously, which is very nice. It can come in handy in a lot of different ways. So I really like it for that reason. Plus it gives 50% crit damage. The other thing she has is I think this Royal Bunny could use a buff of some kind. The charge on MP gauge by 40% is kind of annoying, if only because you need to have the mana loading. It means that you need to at least get base mana loading if you want to have her start with 50%. The nice thing is that her Noble Phantasm does give back 20% NP, so if you were to use this on turn 3 after looping with her, for example, you would already have the starting 20%, and then this would be an increase of 40%, so you'll be at 60%, and then at that point, it's not that hard to go from there. And then this also does give a little bit of an evasion, which I don't think has ever come up for me once, but it is nice, I guess. And this third skill is kind of not great, but this third skill being changed to give 40% attack to the party is really nice. And then also increasing your buster performance by 30% is also key, because being a ruler means she doesn't have a lot of attack. So I think without this skill, she's very clearly not the greatest unit in the world, because she she has one gimmick. You can use it. You're gonna run into a lot of issues with damage, which can be prevented by getting more NP levels, which is how, thankfully, I was able to get 2 copies of her. So mine's NP2, so mine at least has 400% starting, and that's really nice for me. But the other issue that you run into is, for the most part, she'll just never deal enough damage. You would really need to figure out a way to increase her damage if you were going to use her for some of the harder nodes and stuff. You would almost have to guarantee use your follow-up to kill certain big units, which I've had to do in the past. And thankfully, with crit damage, if you have someone that can give like a CE bomb at the beginning, it can help out with that. Now, this third skill is where a lot of the potential, I think, kind of lays. Again, like I said, 40% starting attack is really nice to give to the party just unconditionally. And with the grand system that they have in Japan, eventually there's going to be a fight where you're going to have to use only rulers and you'll want to use supports. Obviously, the support that comes to mind for me is Himiko, but Himiko is more fully buster based. If you were going to use all your rulers, Himiko would come in really handy as a pure like buster support. But if you're just looking for a generic support, just giving your party 40% attack is pretty nice. Not gonna lie. Plus 50% crit damage to everyone can also come in nice. So I think there is some potential for her in the future. I know I said at the beginning that it's like a unit that's kind of bad, but that's because she is kind of bad at the current time and place for us. There's like no denying that this, without that 40%, it's actually just 40% to her, and that attack is not fully enough to make up for the lack of damage unless you yourself are pumping more NP into her or doing more to make her stronger. You know what I'm saying? So I think she has a lot of potential for some future stuff as a generic support, especially thinking with some of that stuff in the mind. But as I say that, I don't know how that fight is even going to be, or if we're even going to have that fight, or how they're going to work it. They've currently only announced the grands for the first 7, and then they said the extras are coming later, but they didn't say what they were doing with them, right? So I don't know what they could do. So it's all hypotheticals that I'm basically thinking. I just think she ends up being a very nice unit. Is she the best unit in the world? I don't think so, but I think eventually with this skill, she at least enters the realm of solid, at the very least. With your mileage likely varying based on what you think solid is, right? But for me, someone who's a fan of the character and who likes using her and has used her in various fights and have been able to grind some of the hardest nodes with her, I'll take it as a solid unit compared to what she is now, which is a heavy RNG based unit that sometimes can pop off when you're lucky and with the right alignment and with the right fights and with the right team. It's a little bit better. Give me this one, please. I don't... So that's her. If you're someone who's looking for a ruler, I would suggest probably it's better to wait for Summer. Because Summer Melusane's coming up, and she is an AoE ruler who is just off the bat very good, and you can just use her if you're looking for a generic one. But if you're a fan of this version of Artoria, as long as you can wait for that buff and you can find ways to use her, I think you'll be pretty happy. Otherwise, I think for most people, this is a pretty easy skip, I'd say. For some people, it's like the easiest skip of their life. For other people, this banner may as well not exist, but for the very dedicated out there, I know who you are, and I acknowledge you because I am one of you. But anyway, that's the end of the video, everyone. Thank you for watching if you made it all the way. This ended up being slightly more positive than I thought it would, except for Okita. I don't really like bagging on units all that much. I feel like, again, because the game is so character focused, a lot of people just want to get their favorite characters, and I always want to make it clear that if that's your intention, I got no problem with that. I support that and say go for it. Follow your heart is the best way to play for Go, I feel. But if you're someone who cares about specifically what do these units do, I have to talk to them as well. Like, it's not all player bases are just them. There are also people who heavily care about how good a unit actually is, and I try my best to be like, here's what I think about this unit. I might be more positive than probably a lot of other people who will then I almost know for sure I am. But anyway, I'm going on and on. Thank you very much for watching, especially if you made it this far. It helps out the channel a whole bunch if you make it this far, if you just watch it. You can also help out the channel by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing, which people have been doing, and I've been appreciating it a whole bunch. It's very nice to see it happen. And again, you can feel free to tell me about what you feel about the summer units. If you actually plan to summon, I still think most people are likely just saving for anniversary, which is the right thing to do, but that doesn't mean that you can stop and smell the roses and occasionally throw a multi or something at something else. But anyway, I've talked too much. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye.